Absolutely. One of the first things we should question is our own mind. We should seek to become the observer of our thoughts, not the thinker, detach ourselves from the inner workings of mind, metacognition, thinking about thinking. Where do thoughts come from? For me, here's a little lore. I was born and my father was a follower of this guy, Swami Rama. And it's basically a cult, but it's a cult rooted in Hatha yoga and the Vedic traditions and a kind of more Eastern understanding of consciousness. And so I was brought up with this hyper awareness of meditation and all of these things. And, I think that is the root lesson that I've taken away, is to observe our thoughts, detach ourselves from our thoughts. Our mind is either a prison or an agent of liberation, but it all hinges on how we think about thinking. What is our relationship to our own mind? Our mind is conditioned. It's conditioned from the minute it comes online, most likely in the womb. And so we have all of these conscious thoughts, and then we have all of this unconscious material kind of driving us, the dark matter of the mind, as the title of a book I like. And so all of this conditioning is rooted in our culture, it's rooted in our family, it's rooted in our religious traditions, it's rooted in all sorts of this information that we're taking in, right? And that's structuring the way we think. And so to become free, we have to be willing to look at our mind. We have to be willing to sit with ourselves. We have to be willing to question, why am I thinking this? Why am I having this response in this moment to this external data, right? And begin to deconstruct the ways that our mind becomes distorted, the way that our mind becomes kind of conditioned to think in patterns and think outside of those patterns. I think a lot about this when it comes to mental health. And the kind of East or the Western, definitions of mental health rooted in like some sort of normal mind, but there really is no such thing. There is no normal mind. There is no mind. There are minds that are culturally conditioned to fit within this culture and operate the way that the culture dictates. And then there are minds that don't. But it's not really a function of illness. It's a function of consciousness. It's a function of conditioning and also brain structure. Right. But I would think the changes to brain also come from conditioning just in previous lives of our ancestors. I always think of previous lives and the things that are kind of passed down from one lifetime to another, not as the soul or the life source or the consciousness, but as the biological material, that our past lives are literally our ancestors. And so there's all sorts of different factors that create our present interpretation of reality. And we have to really think critically about our own thoughts. We have to question ourselves. It is through the prism of our own consciousness that we interpret reality, and everybody's interpreting it a little differently based on their own minds. And so as we're grappling with the kind of collapse of reality, the collapse of civilization in certain ways, the collapse of what we once thought to be true, it's destabilizing, and we have to sit with that destabilization. We have to consciously reform our understanding of the world around us.